I've spent the last 13 years waiting for this moment. Not the moment where I finally moved on, or the moment where I finally forgave my mother, or the moment where I finally stopped being angry. No. I'm not the kind of person who can just forgive and forget, especially not after what she did. I'm the kind of person who holds on to something for years, who watches it simmer under the surface, and then finally lets it explode. And I'm not proud of it. But this is my story. This is the revenge that took 13 years to plan. The revenge that finally broke her. It starts with my mother. She was not a good parent, not even close. When I was 2 years old, my baby brother Mark was born. I was still young, still learning the world, and I didn't understand what it meant to share love. So I acted out. I didn't like the new baby. I didn't like that he took attention away from me. And in most normal families, that would be corrected. But my mother didn't correct it. She rewarded it. She called me a demon, a hell spawn. She told my grandparents that I was a problem, that I was a bad child, and she basically threw me away to be raised by them. She didn't care about me. Not really. In her mind, her new child was the latest greatest. And I was old news. I was raised by my grandparents, who loved me, protected me, and taught me what it meant to be a decent human being. They taught me that treating someone badly because you're jealous or angry is wrong. But I still remember the pain of being rejected. I remember how it felt to be treated like I didn't matter. Time went on. My mother had more children. She married my stepfather, and I watched my life slowly fall apart. I was 13 when everything changed. I was at that age where you think you know everything. Where you think you're smarter than adults. Where you question everything and you demand answers. My stepfather didn't like that. He didn't like that I had a mind of my own. He didn't like that I asked questions. He didn't like that I didn't accept everything he said as truth, so he decided to beat it out of me. He would hit me when I disagreed with him. He would hit me when I spoke up. He would hit me when I showed any sign of independence. Sometimes he did it in front of my mother. And she didn't care. She would just sit there and watch. And that's where the revenge began. Because at 13, I didn't know what revenge was. I didn't know what it meant to plan something. I just knew that I was hurt. I knew that I was angry. I knew that I wanted her to feel what I felt. So I waited. I watched her make mistake after mistake. I watched her hurt me. I watched her hurt my brother. I watched her hurt everyone around her. And I waited. Then, when I was 14, something happened that changed everything. My mother told Mark and I to watch our little sister Alicia. Alicia was 2 years old at the time. A little innocent girl who didn't understand anything. She was just a child. My stepfather wanted to play video games. He would let us watch, but we weren't allowed to play unless he was watching. It was one of those rules he made just to feel like he was in control. I was sitting there, bored, when I suddenly realized something. Where was Alicia? I asked it out loud, and the panic began. My mother freaked out. My stepfather started searching. My father, who was visiting at the time, was in the kitchen when he heard the commotion and rushed out. We searched the house. We searched the yard. We searched the garage. Then my mother screamed. I ran outside and saw her on the deck with Alicia in her arms. Alicia wasn't breathing. My mother and stepfather tried to do CPR. My father dragged Mark and I away. The ambulance was called. Alicia didn't make it. That was the moment everything changed. A week later, Child Protective Services came. My father initiated a custody battle. He said she wasn't capable of raising children. He said she was dangerous. He won, temporarily, but my grandparents didn't want us to be taken away from her. They believed we belonged with her, so they fought back, and in the end, my mother won. She got us back. And the moment I walked back into her home after that, something in me broke. Because I realized that she didn't care about us. She didn't care about her own children. She cared about herself. Time skipped again. I turned 18. I was finally an adult. I was looking forward to graduating high school, to going to college, to starting my life. Mark was 15. He got into a fight and broke his finger. It had to be repaired with pins and screws, and he was on heavy pain medication. My mother was supposed to monitor him. She failed. One day, my grandfather picked me up from school. He looked like he had seen a ghost. He told me to come home. When we arrived, I saw paramedics rolling a stretcher. I saw a body bag. Mark had overdosed. He was 15, he was dead, and my mother wasn't even there. She was out somewhere. She was always out somewhere. She was never home. She was never responsible. She was never a mother. My father's side of the family split away from my mother's side. My grandparents and I were torn apart. My father's family blamed her. They said that if she had been a better mother, Mark would still be alive. And worse, my half-brother Sam was taken away by CPS and put into foster care. I never saw him again. I was an only child, and I was furious. I remember sitting in my grandparents' house after Mark died and feeling something inside me snap. I felt like I was being swallowed by a rage that I couldn't control. I didn't just want her to suffer. I wanted her to feel what I felt. I wanted her to know what it was like to lose someone you love because of your own neglect. So I started planning. My first revenge was small, but it was effective. My grandfather was my best friend. He was kind, gentle, and too trusting. My mother preyed on that. She would guilt him. She would manipulate him. She would get him to do things for her. And I hated it. I started to challenge her in front of them. I would argue with her. I would refuse to let her talk her way out of things. I would make her fight for every little thing she wanted. I always lost, but she started to get irritated. She started to cry. And then she got injured. She slipped at work and herniated some discs in her back. She was in pain. When I heard, I smiled. Not because I'm proud of it, but because I finally felt like the universe was paying her back. She was suffering. And then my stepfather went to jail for doctor shopping. She wanted a divorce. She came home from the hospital and I did something cruel. I took her medications and hid them. I threw them away. I made her suffer. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't move. She was in constant pain. She couldn't work. She couldn't function. And I watched it happen. A few months later, she got into a car accident. The police found out she was on a huge amount of pain meds. She was charged with DUI and sentenced to 6 months in jail. When I heard the news, I laughed. I know it sounds awful. It was awful. But after everything she had done, I didn't care. She was behind bars. She was in pain. She was alone. And I finally felt like I had control. That was my first revenge.